So I'm sure most of you guys saw that legendary picture of Bernie at the inauguration. It's the classic, like, everybody standing up and clapping for Trump and Bernie sitting there with his fucking arms crossed like, fuck this. Awesome picture. Legendary picture. So he comes out and drops a video on what it was like being at the inauguration and what he took from Trump's speech. And he's going on the offense. He was disgusted by what he saw. Let's watch.
I was at the Trump inauguration yesterday, and needless to say, I disagree with much of what he had to say. But what really struck me, however, is not what he said, which was not surprising given his rhetoric, but what he didn't say, The simple truth is that Donald Trump gave a major speech, the first speech of his second presidency, and ignored virtually every important issue facing the working families of this country. How crazy is that? Our healthcare system is broken, is dysfunctional, and it's wildly expensive. Not one word from Trump about how he is going to address the healthcare crisis.
This is a point I made too in the moment. Trump said absolutely nothing about unions, wages, and healthcare. But what he did talk about is threatening Panama with war. Like, that's literally beyond parody. Literally beyond parody.
We pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, sometimes 10 times more than the people in other countries. And 1 out of 4 Americans are unable to afford the prescriptions that their doctors prescribe. Not one word in his speech on the high cost of prescription drugs.
In fact, Bernie, he signed an executive order that raised drug prices because it repealed a Biden executive order that lowered them for Medicaid and Medicare recipients. Again, you can't make this stuff up.
We have 800,000 Americans who are homeless and millions of people spending 50 or 60% of their limited income on housing. We have a major housing crisis in America. Everybody knows it. And Trump, in his inaugural address, did not devote one word to it. Today in America, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had. The wealthiest 3 people in America now own more wealth than the bottom half of our society. But Trump had nothing to say, not one word, about the growing gap between the very rich and everybody else.
He supports it. He supports extreme income and wealth inequality. In fact, in a press conference the other day, he said, like, the U.S. was better off in, like, the 1890s. Like, it was the best time for everybody. No, it fucking wasn't. No, we're talking about tenement housing and child labor and even more extreme income and wealth inequality and the fucking Gilded Age and the robber barons. And he looks at that and he goes, that's what I like. Give the top 1% deserves everything and everybody else deserves tiny little crumbs, if that. So Bernie's exactly right. The Maga worldview is blame the immigrants, blame the trans people. They are the source of all of your problems. And we're going to crack down on the immigrants and crack down on the trans people, as you already did on day one. The problem with that is the American people are going to learn very quickly, wait a second, my life didn't get any better. And you're just being an asshole to immigrants, and you're just being an asshole to trans people. Well, who's the real problem? Oh, I don't know. Look on the inauguration stage, where you have a whole bunch of robber barons sitting in better seats than Trump's own cabinet to watch the inauguration. There was over $1 trillion in net worth on the stage. This is the problem, is that these assholes run our politics. And you know what that means? They give themselves tax cuts, and they give themselves corporate welfare checks, and they loot the treasury, and they screw you over, because they're not going to vote for higher wages. They're not going to vote for health care. They're going to buy politicians to do their bidding and screw you over. That's where your hatred belongs. With the oligarchs, with the robber barons, the people who've destroyed our government, bought our government. And MAGA has no solutions for that. In fact, it's the problem. Because Trump wants more robber barons in politics. They're controlling his administration, and he's happy to allow that to happen. I always pointed this out. Trump, deep down, think back to 2015, 2016. He wished he was Hillary Clinton. He was jealous of somebody like Hillary Clinton, who was beloved by the establishment and all the wealthy people, all the elites. He didn't get their approval up front. They thought he was a bit of a joke. Well, now, look at this. They're all snuggling up to him. They're all loving him. They're all going to his parties and shit, and he's happy as a pig and shit now. Yay, I got the support of the robber barons. I got the support of the wealthiest people in the world. I'm one of the elites, Mom. Look, I'm amazing. This is what it is. And he's going to let these people destroy the country to make a buck.
And maybe, just maybe, That's because he had those three people, the three wealthiest people in our country, sitting right behind them at his inauguration. And I should add that those three people, if you can believe it, and this really is unbelievable, saw their wealth increase by more than $233 billion since the November elections. How's that? $233 billion increase in wealth for the three wealthiest people.
Think about where that money could have went. 770,000 homeless people in America, increased by 18%. That money could have went to help those people. It could have went to help eliminate medical debt. A bunch of blue states are buying up medical debt for pennies on the dollar and wiping it out. It could have went towards that. But no, they saw just an increase. That's not their total worth, their net worth. There was an increase of $233 billion. Do you see the problem with the system yet? The bottom 80% of Americans hold just 7% of the wealth. Do you see the problem with the system yet?
No wonder they were sitting right behind Donald Trump at his inauguration. They couldn't be happier. During his inaugural speech, Trump did not have one word to say about how we're going to address the planetary crisis of climate change. The last 10 years have been the warmest years ever recorded.
He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. That was one of his executive orders.
And extreme weather disturbances and natural disasters are taking place all over the world, from Los Angeles to India, across Europe to North Carolina. Not one word from Trump about climate change, except, of course, to make it clear that he intends to make this horrific situation even worse with drill, baby, drill. Just brilliant. In the coming months and years, our job is not just to respond to every absurd statement that Donald Trump makes. Our job is to stay focused on the issues that are of importance to the working families of our country and, in fact, are widely supported by the American people. Let me just mention a few of them. Yes, healthcare is a human right, and we must join every other major country in guaranteeing healthcare to all people through a Medicare for All single-payer program. Healthcare is a human right. Yes, we must take on the greed of Big Pharma and substantially lower the cost of prescription drugs in this country. Yes, we must build millions of units of affordable housing and low-income housing. Yes, we must make sure that all of our young people have the ability to get a higher education by making public colleges and universities tuition-free. Yes, we must work with the global community to combat climate change by cutting carbon emissions and transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel and into sustainable energy. Yes, we must pass legislation to raise the absurdly low federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour to a living wage of $17 an hour. Anybody who works 40 hours a week in this country should not be living in poverty. Yes, we must pass the PRO Act and make it easier for workers to join trade unions and grow the trade union movement in America. Yes, in order to help fund the needs of working families in this country, we must demand that the wealthiest people in this country, including those individuals sitting right beside Donald Trump at his inaugural, start paying their fair share of taxes. Yes, we must end a corrupt campaign finance system which allows a handful of billionaires to buy elections and move us rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. Bottom line, as we enter the new Trump presidency, we have got to remain focused. We cannot panic. No matter how many executive orders he signs, and no matter how many absurd statements he makes, our goal remains the same. We've got to educate, we have got to organize, we've got to put pressure on Congress to do the right things. And by the way, with Republicans only holding a 3 or 4 seat advantage in the House, we can stop them time and time again if we are organized. Finally, my friends, we have got to fight to create an America based on economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. That's what we've got to work on. Let's go forward. Let's do it. Thank you.
Gee, I wonder why he's the most liked senator in the country. He had so they do this thing where they go to the individual states and ask them about their own senator. He had a 69% approval rating in the state of Vermont, most popular senator in the country. Gee, I wonder why. I can't figure out why. Could it be that he actually believes in something and argues for it? Huh. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something to the notion that people want Democrats to be Democrats. We want you to embrace the ideology of FDR. Reagan came along and said the scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Whereas FDR's philosophy was, the government can and should look out for its people. You pay taxes, you should get something in return for those taxes, right? We had the New Deal, for example. So people want a government that says, look, if you're going to pay taxes, you deserve something for this. We should have universal health care. We should have free college. We should have Social Security for all. We should end the corruption and make sure the government represents the people and not the billionaires and the oligarchs and the robber barons. If you actually stand for this idea, this notion that government can be a force for good, people love it. It's not a coincidence that Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are the most popular government programs, and these are the programs that directly help the American people. And guess what? Then it becomes a third rail to cut them, where you pay a political price if you try to cut them because it helps people. So he believes government can and should help people. Stop with this fucking bullshit, this Reagan-era bullshit and this MAGA-era bullshit where it's like, I got to go wherever these assholes go. No, you don't. You can fight them. You can call them out. You can have your own thing. You don't need to sign on to a right-wing worldview because you feel like, oh, Trump won by 1.4%. I guess we're in his era now and I got to bend the knee. Fuck that. Fuck that. Stand for something. Believe in something. Have a spine. Fight. After the Republicans lost to Obama in 2008 by 8 percentage points, they got together and said, we're just going to block everything he does. Fuck him. Democrats lose by 1.4 percentage points. They're like, I guess I'll vote for the Laken Riley Act. If you say so. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not letting Bernie off the hook for that Marco Rubio vote. I think he voted to approve Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Why? You can just say no. I get it. Unless some of the other picks are crazier and, he's one of the more respectable ones. He's respectable in the sense that he's not an alcoholic and he doesn't beat his wife. He's not respectable because he wants to do war with every fucking country imaginable. So you could just say no. It's okay to just say no. It's okay to obstruct. It's okay to say, fuck this, I don't agree. Embody that, feel that, believe that, fight on those grounds. That's what people want, liberals and leftists alike. So, but look, he nailed it. All that stuff is exactly right. And Trump's already doing a tremendous amount of damage. And it's on us to not only, to Bernie's point, yes, call out all the shit Trump does, call out all the absurd shit he says, but at the same time, we have to be clear. Here's the criticism, but also here's the solution. This is what we want to do with the country. This is what we're in favor of. I'm in favor of universal health care, free college, paid time off, getting money out of politics, raising taxes on the wealthy, Social Security for all, 4-day work week. I want the number one infrastructure in the world. I want to make us number one in the world with the best infrastructure. That's the envy of the world. These are the things I want. So you can oppose and obstruct and object while at the same time saying, here's the world we're trying to create right here. And when this MAGA thing implodes, which it 100% is going to because it's psychotic, it's a cult, we're going to be here to pick up the pieces and go in the right direction. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.